Welcome to the Autistic Trans Guy podcast, Poetry Edition. Whether you're neurodivergent, queer, or questioning, this is a safe space. A place for identity, shared struggle, and understanding. My name is Mason. I'm autistic and trans, and I'm here to share my voice through my poems. Okay, so to be honest, this is, and I kid you not, the 14th run through of recording this episode. I think I stopped counting after 10. And yeah, that's because I was just having trouble talking, to be frank. And I was never content with the way I conveyed what I want to convey. It always kind of lost some nuance. And I also was kind of hard on myself. But then I thought, I'm literally making a podcast about what it's like being autistic and having difficulty expressing my thoughts in the way they are in my head is part of what it's like being autistic for me. Because like everyone is different, of course. But for me, sometimes it's hard to convey the things in the way I want to convey them. Okay, that kind of sounds funny. Convey the things in the way I want to convey them. Anyway, so I thought writing, and especially writing poetry, is my way of telling stories and effectively communicating what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, to be honest, it is a bit scary to put my voice out there, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I've wanted to do this for so long, and yeah, I'm ready now, I think. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here. So, what is this podcast gonna be about? My goal is to create a space where you feel seen and understood. Because I know it's a fucking roller coaster living in a cishet neurotypical world as a neurodivergent queer person. So, I want to honor two things. The first one being the struggles and difficulties that we have to face on a daily basis, and everything we have and had to go through. The second thing I want to honor is the autistic and trans joy. I feel like oftentimes people put us in like two categories, as either having only difficulty in life and the only thing we do is suffer, or the other extreme, that our struggles are not taken seriously at all and are completely invalidated by them not believing us that we feel the way we feel. So, that is why I want to acknowledge and honor both of these things and everything in the middle, because they are all equally true. And another point which is really important to me, which I'm definitely gonna focus on and dive into as well, is the intersectionality of being trans and autistic at the same time. I feel like it's not a lot talked about how these two things affect one another from an individual standpoint. Like, for example, in one aspect, the one makes the other one easier, or vice versa. Like, it makes it, and in another aspect, it makes it more difficult. And yeah, I'm actually really excited to delve into that, because I feel like it's not a lot touched on. So essentially, I won't be talking about the co-occurrence rate or anything like that, but rather about the actual lived experience of being both. And another reason why I'm starting this podcast is I I remember when I first realized I'm autistic, and the same with being trans, I took a deep dive into the depths of YouTube for hours and hours and watched autistic and trans people talk about their experiences. And yeah, those videos meant so much to me because I felt less alone, and in that moment I've never felt so seen and understood in my entire life. And yeah, now I want to give that back. By the way, everything is written and created by me. I don't use any AI. All the podcast scripts and poems are my authentic words from the heart. Yeah, I even painted the logo myself, which I'm really proud of, because I do love painting, but I am not used to drawing people. So that was a process. Maybe I could show you some of the first drafts one day. They are horrendous. But I'm really proud how it eventually turned out. Anyway. Okay. Little disclaimer, you will hear me use the word anyway a lot. Because it's kind of my linking word for everything. So, anyway and so, but anyway a little more. I just wanted to do it again. I'll just pause instead. But it's hard. Whew. The podcast format will essentially be me reading one of my poems and then talk a little about it. I may do episodes in the future where instead of reading one of my poems, I'm gonna just talk instead. So, I want to start out the podcast with something uplifting. So without further ado, let's jump into today's poem, which is called Fall Into Place. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like finding the exit after a lifetime in a maze. Before me, an array of possibilities. No more raw survival mode. No more rivals on the road. Shadows were lurking in every corner. I don't have to fight them any longer. The maze was outstretching their form, giving them power like wind does to a storm. But outside the maze, entropy disintegrates them with grace. And no more only green anywhere I go. Out there, the world has a whole color palette to show. And no more just this or that path. It's time to craft a realm from the bottom up to fully shine, letting the vines behind. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like the sun's embrace and its rays on your skin, warming you up from within, the world brighter than it once seemed. Though there's the risk of being burnt and the risk of being turned down. But if there's one thing I learned, better to be burnt than to never find experiences and people that may turn your world around. Better that than to be safe and sound and your inner voice hidden, not to be found. It's time to live, time to make my eager heart pound. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like a dive in the ocean on hot summer days. The infinite blue surrounding you, omnipresent, like a warm embrace, and the temperature pleasant. The calm sound of the water's serenity, just like the peace of knowing one's identity. Whew. Sorry, breath, I need air. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like the warmth of a lover's gaze, safe, bathing in butterflies a grin so wide it never subsides. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like being a meteor, first floating in space, then leaving a beautiful trace when entering this earth, leaving a mark with pride, casting a beautiful arc with the spark from inside. The time when your life starts to fall into place feels like story threads in a book weaving together in cohesive, intricate ways, with knowledge of the book's each and every page. And oopsie, cable in the way. And respect for what the character had to face. When the plot twist came, I could finally breathe again. The overarching arc starting to make sense, seeing the world through a different lens. The character's paradigm of life is shook. It's not time for a new chapter, it's time for a whole new fucking book. The time when your life starts to fall into place, the phase of pacing through nothingness and everything ceases to exist. That was kind of scary, to be honest. Like, these poems are... I feel so vulnerable reading them because they are so personal to me, and it gets even more personal with the other ones. But yeah, I do want to share them. So, anyway, personally, when I read a poem or look at a painting, I really love when I know a little bit about the context in which the author has written, crafted, or created it, and yeah, which message they want to convey with their piece. Sometimes the message is very clear, sometimes there is a lot of room for interpretation. I'm not saying that every piece of art needs to have a theme, but it is my personal preference. Also, like in movies and books or shows, for example, like I love when they have an inspiring message at their core. And I'm realizing I'm deviating and yapping again. Whoops. The point I wanted to make, I will always give some amount of context after reading my poem, about my poem. Yeah. Fall into place. This is a very recent poem. I wrote it a few weeks back, I think, or like 2 months ago, something like that. It's basically about finally not being in survival mode anymore, as I've been for almost my whole life. And now everything is falling into place. And I'm finally able to start building the life I want to live at 22. Or, like my awesome sister calls it, 22. Yeah, so I'm almost 10 months on testosterone and have had my top surgery already, and life is just about to start for me, and it feels really, really exciting. And I'm kind of in an in-between state right now of the person I was and the person I want to be. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on myself really hard. But I'm getting there. It's a journey, and I'm really grateful and privileged to be on it. And yeah. Actually, the next poem in episode 2 is exactly about this in-between state. So stay tuned for that. So, in a nutshell, fall into place serves as a means to express especially my trans joy. And yeah, essentially to show how important identity is and what a difference it makes. And it's a fucking tragedy that some people don't acknowledge or don't care or don't want to see. That gender affirming care literally saves lives. So, I don't want to end on a sad note, so at the very end of this episode, you're gonna hear some bloopers. Have fun. Now, I'd love to hear about you. What is one thing that you would love people to better understand about you? You can comment on the post for episode 1 on my Instagram account, autistic.trans.guy, or you can write me a message directly on Instagram if you only want me to read it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading about you and to chat. And remember, you make the world better. Our stories matter. About how these two things affect one another on an individual standpoint. And okay. The floor is Mini Mason. I was and I just it was just like I just okay. I don't even know what's funny. Oh. What is going on? Monitor off. Monitor on. But I don't hear myself. I thought I figured out the tech.